In today's episode, we are going to be covering some of the facts about the Ebola 2026 outbreak, including what the virus is, where it is, and how it spreads.
And symptoms and how dangerous is it and what people should do. But before we get into that, like and subscribe us on the show and help us grow. You know what the worst part about arriving at a hazmat scene?
Knowing you're going to roll your ankle on boots that are 7 times larger than you normally wear.
Yes, that's a tough, but uncertainty. You have no idea what's in the air.
Oh, yes, that old assumption it's just a chemical. Well, guess what? That doesn't really cut it anymore. You need answers and you need them fast.
And that is where the Explorer comes in. Real-time chemical ID and quantification right there in the field.
Yeah, we're not talking about, oh, I think it's something bad. No. This is going to tell you exactly what's there and exactly how much.
So you can set up your zones like an adult and not a rookie guessing where to put the tape.
Yeah, giving you defensible, quantitative data in seconds. Decision making made a hell of a lot easier.
So no more waiting around for an answer. Just get your solid, life-saving intel.
Check out Explorer and stop guessing. Go to 908devices.com.
Hey, on a hazmat call, the question is never if radiation matters. It's where you're going to find it.
Yeah, and half the time you don't find it, it kind of finds you first, which is why in unknowns, radiation is always one of the first things that we're checking out.
Because you can't see it, you can't smell it, and if you miss it, you're already inside it.
Which is why teams are running the Teledyne FLIR Defense Identifinders.
Yep, and that isn't a one-size-fits-all tool. They've got handheld rigs, they got wearable personals, even backpack systems.
Right, so whether you're the first guy on scene or you're the one building out plans for the bigger picture, there's a FLIR device that's going to fit your job.
And these are not just theoretical tools. They are out there getting used every day by teams that actually rely on radiation data to make decisions.
But go check them out as well. FLIR Identifinder, that's FLIR Identifinder, or go to our unboxings. Battery fires are starting to change the way we think about fire suppression.
Because for years it was just water, and more water, which is cool it and chase it and hope it stays out.
Yeah, and now we've got all these lithium-ion jobs all over the place, and it's no longer just about putting out the fire. It's suddenly about controlling it, about keeping it from propagating and stopping that reignition cycle.
Which is where some of these newer agents start to actually make some sense.
And we've been looking at the TRF Plus from Fire Suppression Solutions. We really like it. It's not just like a, oh, it works type thing. It's more of a where it fits in, because this isn't replacing everything that you do. It is another tool in the toolbox when the problem doesn't match the playbook that you're used to.
Exactly. So you've got something that can be applied early, help limit spread, and give another option before it's just flooding it and waiting.
And depending on how your team operates, you can set this up in different ways. You got smaller portable options all the way up to like a bulk kit where you need a bulk kit for larger responses.
Yeah, check them out at FSS.
More updated information on COVID. God damn it, COVID. It's so ingrained into our head. That's all I think about now. But luckily, we could talk about something else. And I say luckily as if like we're actually lucky that Ebola is back. And how sad is it, Bob, that we are now dealing with this for at least the third time in our lifetimes, in our careers. We're dealing with Ebola.
Good times. I love it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's very cyclic.
Yeah, it seems to like every 5 or 6 years we've got something else going on. And today's date, if you're listening to this sometime in the future, June 3rd, 2026 is when this is releasing. We're marking the date because the information is constantly changing. Very similar to chemicals, the chemistry doesn't change, but the effects on people and the response protocols, they might change as time goes on. So understand we're looking at June 3rd, 2026, and this is the Ebola outbreak in the, oh my God, I'm never going to be able to pronounce this, bungadual virus, and that's affecting the DRC and Uganda. Do you have the right way of pronouncing it?
No, I have no idea.
Okay, you're not even going to try it. I'm not going to try it either. But go look it up and give it a shot yourself. I'm not going to freaking try. Right now, the best case figures at the DRC. I keep wanting to say the DNC. The DRC is 344 confirmed cases, 60 confirmed deaths, 116 suspected cases under investigation, and in Uganda we've got 15 confirmed cases, 1 death, and so far the CDC says that there are no U.S. cases that are going to be linked to this specific outbreak, and the risk for us in the United States remains relatively low.
Okay, so then you're probably saying to yourself, "Why do I care? Why would I?" Though it's not here, it's probably best just to spin up on it, right? And so, though it's not an airborne like your measles or your COVID, remember that Ebola spreads mainly through direct contact of blood or bodily fluids of either a sick or deceased person. So. Even if that is on a contaminated surface, right? So it doesn't have to be directly to the person or, them coughing and then touching you. If they cough in their hands and they touch the table and then you do, it is a possibility. So people are not considered infectious before symptoms begin. That's interesting.
Yeah, and that's a key part in responding to this as well. And we'll talk about that when we get to how we should be responding to this. But this is a no-joke virus. And I'm not talking about a COVID no-joke, right? When we first heard COVID, those numbers were around 3%. So if you want something to compare it to, the original, when it first came to the United States, COVID, 2020, March, we were looking at a 3% fatality rate. Ebola disease is often much more fatal. 25 to 90% of the cases end in fatality, averaging around 50%. Now, that's all going to be dependent on when you get medical treatment and the whole 9 yards, but that's the average, right? Although the current fatality percentage is lower so far, that may just be due to people getting medical treatment quicker than they have in the past.
Now, we probably should take a second to talk about what a virus is by itself, right? So this Bundibugyo.
Oh, Mr. I can pronounce words. Why don't you just go ahead and shove that in my face?
I'll do it again. It's the Bundibugyo virus, which is a species of, you suck, Orthiobiobola virus Bundibugiis. Because the Bundibugo virus disease is one of, we're just going to say the Bundy. How's that?
The Bundy works. It's
Bundy
crazy
virus.
that Ebola has a whole bunch of different diseases associated with it. Just throwing that out there.
So this disease is one of the Ebola diseases. It lives under that umbrella, and it's not a brand new virus. This virus has caused outbreaks before, but it's much less common than the Zaire, which I believe was the last one.
Yeah, that was the one that I remember, the Doctors Without Borders came back. There were nurses that got sick.
Yeah.
That came into the United States. Where are we talking about right now? Well, of course, we're talking about the Ebola capital of the world, which is in the Africa area. The confirmed cases include Ituri in North Kiev and South Kivu. I think I'm pronouncing that right. Mm-hmm. Providence in the DRC. There's also some cases in Uganda. Currently, this is associated as a regional issue, not a global issue, and that is because it has not crossed any international borders yet. And there's things about Ebola that's going to help keep that down and prevent it from crossing. But these numbers are quickly changing, right? The confidence is imperfect because of testing and training and just the third world-like conditions that a lot of these places are popping up in. So there's a lot that can change on a day-to-day basis when it comes to this.
All right, let's go back into how does it spread? Because I would say if I'm EMS or fire or police or whatever it might be, this is probably going to be one of the things that I'm most leery on and I want to spin up on. It's, as I said before, direct contact through broken skin or mucous membranes. So if you are generally doing your due diligence and putting on your gloves and your body's seen safe, body isolated, that kind of thing, with body fluids or blood, contaminated surfaces, infected, diseased bodies, animals, even bats or non-human primates. It is not normally airborne. Okay, it's not normally airborne, and I want to say normally because could it be? Everything's possible. Okay, so as this evolves, this guidance might change, but your droplet or risk of splash matters during the close care because vomiting, yawning, diarrhea, bleeding, procedures. Ebola can persist on contaminated surfaces, especially where blood or fluids remain. So you're going to have to do a lot of cleaning or disinfecting, and waste controls are going to matter.
All right, so who's at risk? And this is kind of an important one to understand because where you come in contact with the patient gives you an exponential increase of the potential of getting Ebola, meaning that the closer they are to death and even after death, there is an extreme easiness to be able to contract the Ebola from one person versus like, hey, I'm coming in contact with this person and they're not even having symptoms yet. So we want to kind of keep that in context as we start to give the high-risk people. And the high-risk people are going to be household caregivers, healthcare workers, burial workers. That is absolutely huge in these countries because of their burial practices and how they handle the dead, which then brings us to direct contact with sick and deceased patients, right? In these countries, they don't use protection when they're handling the dead, and this is one of those diseases where even long after you're dead, you can still contract just by touching them and then getting contaminated fluids in you. Healthy adults can become severely ill, so there's no kind of comorbidity that's associated with an increase in symptoms or things like that. Pregnant women, children, elderly, immunocompromised people, they are going to be able to get it just as severe, not just as severely, but they're able to catch it just as easily. The problem becomes that they don't handle it very well because they're already kind of compromised. So when we take a look at specific outbreak groups and risk groups, that's who we're going to concentrate on.
The symptoms, because this is when somebody is hot, right? The incubation time is between 2 and 21 days. Now, as I think about that, you get contaminated, right? You get infected, and then you have 2 to 21 days to do your life where you don't even know what's going on. And you're touching and going places for 2 to 21 days. I put a lot of miles on my shoes. So you can have contact with an awful lot of people. And I get you're not contagious, but you're building up that space. So it's not like at 21 days, boom, now you're contagious. I'm going to say there's going to be a little bit of a spin-up time where you are, but maybe the symptoms aren't as bad as you're catching them. And that could be fever, weakness, muscle pain, headache, sore throat. And then later you can get vomiting, diarrhea, abdominal pains, kidney or liver dysfunction, confusion, and even bleeding. And anybody with these symptoms plus exposure or travel risk should avoid travel and contact public health or medical care before arriving.
And we're going to talk about how dangerous it is, but first, a word from our sponsors.
Yes. Go with that. Yes. Good stuff. It's today's episode. We're brought to you by Rigaku Analytical Devices. Who are the folks who have been practicing the 1064 nanometer Raman longer than some of you guys have been doing hazmat?
4th generation. They just launched their 4th generation hand analyzer, the Icon X, which is built specifically for the real world conditions that we come across every day. I'm talking about dirty powders, mixed materials, dyes, colors, all those things that throw all of our other meters into a complete temper tantrum.
And the 1064 nanometer laser means fluorescence, so you get fast, reliable chemical ID in under a minute instead of staring at a blank screen wondering what went wrong.
This isn't just a software upgrade. It's an entire new standalone toolbox. It is an entire new platform. It supports new accessories, new standoff analyzations, so you can get answers without getting too close.
So if you want an analyzer that's been evolving right alongside the hazmat world, check out Rigaku's newest Raman at rigakuanalytical.com. You know what I love about the city?
Cat's pastrami deli.
Too expensive. Way too big of a sandwich. You can't just
so
you can't
good.
make your jaw.
Oh, it's so good.
It's the e-scooter gangs.
Oh, yes, because nothing screams hazmat like a moped that's about to go nuclear.
And that is where Obexian FR saves the day.
Absolutely. Lightweight, mobile friendly. It's designed for the first responders because the last thing we need is extra weight when things start to heat up.
And it's third-party tested to lower toxic gases below the ideal H levels.
So you're increasing your safety potential in case you accidentally. I wouldn't suggest breathing it in, but if you accidentally breathe it in at a scooter fire, you're a little bit well protected.
And if you need more, Obexian FR comes by the pallet load or certified poly drum kits.
Which is perfect when you're sitting there going, holy crap, we're going to need a lot of this.
So protect your team and your lungs and learn more by going to thehazmatguys.com. Sorry, thehazmatguys.dgeo.com. That's thehazmatguys.dgeo.com.
So how bad is this stuff, right? How dangerous is this? Well, without supportive care early on, it's extremely dangerous, right? This is why we get such big fluctuations in that lethality between 3 and 95%, because depending on the care that you get and when you get it, that determines whether or not you're going to survive or not. So the DRC is about 60 deaths, 340 confirmed cases. That number is still shifting because active cases, when you can have no symptoms for between 2 and 21 days, right? Like the numbers that we're looking at now, they don't correlate with the people who are sick, but we don't know about it yet. So the long-term effects can include physical and psychological damage. The Ebola virus can persist in your immune system for quite some time, including in your eyes, in your brains, in your placenta, for those of you that are running around with a placenta, in your amniotic fluid. It can chill in the fetus, and it can also come out in your breast milk, which is good to know.
So let's say you're not in the emergency services and you're just, well, we're all both in and out because you're a human and you have a family, I'm sure. For us, you don't really got to do anything special in your daily life. For travelers or people that go to possibly affected areas, avoid contact with sick people, bloody fluids, bodily fluids, bodies of the deceased, bushmeats, bats, primates, contaminated items. Use strict hand hygiene, and we all are old enough to remember COVID, what hygiene means. Do your sanitation and stuff like that. And if you come back, ice yourself for like 21 days. After you leave the affected area. The CDC has a travel screening and restrictions tied to recent presence in the DRC, which, if you're asking yourself, what the hell is the DRC? It's a Democratic Republic of the Congo, Uganda, or South Sudan.
Right. Now, we've seen this in the past, and you monitor for 21 days, all that stuff. When, the way the CDC makes it sound like, right, the monitoring program, you're like, oh, perfect. Like they're packing these people away and they're not letting them out for 21 days. That's not what's happening in any way, shape, or form. If you're exposed in that 21 days and you're in the United States and you're in the screening process, you go about your normal life. You take your temperature and you call them every day and you let them know, hey, this is kind of my temperature. And this is important for us to know as first responders and hazmat people, because there is the potential for us to get exposed by somebody who is within this 21 days or is starting to feel sick or is on the monitoring program. It happened. It happened to us. Not that me and Bob got contaminated, but we went on scene in which the first due engine company was performing CPR on somebody who dropped dead and was on the watch list. And you should have seen the looks on their faces when they realized that this was a potential Ebola case. So for them, it's not like they got packed away and isolated from their family for 21 days. They just had to understand what it was to be monitored and looked at. It turned out she didn't have Ebola. She just happened to drop dead of some random heart attack. But man, what a crappy position to be in, to be like, wait a second, that person that I just did CPR on is on an Ebola thing. Yeah. So 21 days, you're going to monitor yourself. And as you get sick, that is when you're going to start to seek care.
Okay, so now we're going to treat. We have this Bundibugyo virus, and the WHO says that there is no approved specific treatment. The care is mainly optimized for supportive care, right? Fluids, electrolytes, oxygen support, pain control, treatment of co-infections such as malaria, or organ supportive management. It's almost like you got a hangover, right? Monoclonals such as
It's a hell of a hangover.
that's some oof, what a night. Imizeb and Regen EB3 and Ansumaveb for Zaire Ebola virus, and that is not approved for this specific strain. So they're going to be doing things, and this is going to firm up. They're just, I think a lot of times in these things they kind of throw stuff at the wall and sees what sticks, and then that's the way they go.
Yeah, and I feel like a lot of the information that we give on this, it's very much like radiation, right? It's not that it's super critical to know for responding to something, but it's good for you to know and understand so you can maintain a certain level of composure, right? Because with knowledge comes the ability to control our fears. We do the same thing with radiation. We do the same thing with sicknesses, like understanding that, okay, if I get exposed and I get treatment early, which would happen here in the United States, then maybe I can focus more on the patient and less on fear for myself. And we could just go out and get a vaccine for this, right? Like we just, they're going to have one up soon. No approved vaccine for Ebola virus in any way, shape, or form. There is a licensed Ebola virus that exists for the Zaire Ebola virus, but there is nothing yet for this specific outbreak. So if you're a vaccine person, well, you're just going to have to sit this one out for a little bit.
Now, as far as the hospitals, if you have affected area symptoms and under pressure for insecurity, limited testing, supply problems, whatever, tracing gaps, community mistrust, I don't find current evidence of hospitals that are universally overwhelmed. But WHO partners are scaling up the clinical preparedness and supplies and infection control and contact tracing.
Yeah, and I even think that they are, right now, they're building hospitals for U.S. citizens that are helping out overseas so that they don't come into the United States. So they can get the U.S. type style support and healthcare without actually entering the country, which happened last year, not last year, but the last outbreak. There were people that made it back to the United States and then ended up getting sick. The one person that wasn't able to get support in time, he ended up dying, but a doctor and I believe 2 nurses both got treatment early, and both were absolutely fine. So what is being done about this? Well, with the normal virus outbreak things, right? Response includes surveillance testing. They're doing the contact tracing, case isolations, treatments, the burials. That is how they get a lot of this stuff under control, is by trying to get ahead of the burials where they're not handling the dead. Many of these countries, they take the internal organs out by hand before burial, and that's where we're seeing a lot of cross-contamination and infection happening. So it's really just trying to change their culture and stop the Ebola virus from getting from dead person to some kind of a worker. They're isolating the borders, travel screenings, and researching on potential candidates for vaccines and therapeutic conditions.
Yeah, so let's just wrap this one up with what we know. What we suspected one is totally unknown. What we know, the Bundibugyo virus is causing Ebola disease in the DRC and Uganda. It spreads by direct contact with infection fluids, and symptomatic people are the transmission concern. What we suspect, that true case counts may be higher than confirmed because surveillance and contact tracing is incomplete. And what is completely unknown, the exact outbreak size. How many suspected deaths are truly Ebola, right? The effectiveness of our countermeasures, and how quickly contact tracing can catch up.